My name is Nitai Deranja, and I have had the great opportunity in this lifetime to help J. Donald Walters found the Education for Life movement. It's a project that I've been working on for most of the last 50 years, starting back in 1972. In this set of videos, I'll be sharing some of the highlights of this approach, reading excerpts from this book, Education for Life by J. Donald Walters, and I'll also be sharing some stories from my personal experience in working with these things. So this video, we're going to work right at the beginning. We're going to start with the chapter 1. It's called Success is Achieving What One Really Wants. And this is where we kind of differentiate, what is it that makes Education for Life special? So this passage goes, "Success means much more than money and power. Of what good are millions of dollars if their attainment deprives one of all that makes life truly worth living? Many people have learned this lesson too late in life to have any time left to improve matters. Why then, they may have wondered belatedly, were they encouraged in the first place to distort their values? For of course they were encouraged. Everything they ever learned at home, in school, and from their peers persuaded them that success lies in things tangible, not in seemingly insubstantial, more spiritual gains." So in this passage, he brings up the topic of bringing spirituality into education. And it's an aspect that is not clear to most of us. It wasn't clear to me when I first started with it. There's a confusion between spiritual and religious. I myself had a religious upbringing. I was raised as a Catholic and went to Catholic grammar school for 8 years. And my religious education mainly consisted of memorizing answers to questions from the catechism. It's pretty interesting that I still remember some of those questions and some of those answers, which I'm going to show off for you a little bit. One of the first questions was, who is God? And the answer was, God is the supreme being, infinitely perfect, who made all things and keeps them in existence. And then the second question was, why did God make us? And the answer was, God made us to show forth his goodness and to share with us everlasting happiness in heaven. So if you had a good memory, then you got an A in religion. The problem was that it was just memorizing, and especially when you're 6 years old or 8 years old or 10 years old, it really doesn't mean much to you. You could be memorizing recipe for making bread and give it back, and it would have just about as much depth to it. So I knew from my own experience that spiritual education had to be more than that. And so on this journey, I came to some different conclusions, perceptions. One of the best metaphors that I came across was by a saint from India from the 1800s. His name was Ramakrishna. And people were asking him about the concept of karma, or what direction in life? How do you choose your direction in life? And he said that karma is like getting on a train. He said, when you get on the train, the tracks are already set. So you don't really have a choice. The train is going to take you to a certain destination. He says, but the choice you do have is you can either sit in the front of the train or the back of the train, or someplace in the middle, obviously. And so what that meant for me was, rather than trying to train the students into a particular set of religious practices or how to join a particular organization, I wanted them to know what was their direction in life. And each one was going to be unique. Each child was going to have a unique direction. But my goal as a teacher was to awaken in that child an awareness of their direction, an awareness of what is it that motivates them or stimulates them. What is it? And it's so interesting. You can see that in very young children. I have a grandson now, and he's only 13 months old, but he wants to understand everything. How, like if it's a door, he wants to see how the hinge works, and he wants to know how the knob works. And I took him to the park when I was with him last time, and somebody gave him a balloon. And most children would be, all about the balloon and it bounces and playing with it and stuff. He went for the knot at the end of the balloon to try to figure out how how that air was kept in the balloon. And this is 13 months. And what I found is that all children show that. They show those predilections if we take the time to notice, if we take the time to observe them. And again, we'll get into that in other videos, how important it is for the teacher to be perceptive to who is this child in front of them and how can I best help them. So over the years, that's kind of what we did. Tried to help the children find out what is their direction in life, and then give them the tools to be able to take that direction and to sit in the front of the train, as Ramakrishna said, to really jump into it and not just do it half-heartedly, to pour all their energy into it. They're using their body, their feeling, their will, and their intellect, other aspects of education for life that we'll touch on later, and just to get the most out of it you can, to learn as much as you can in that direction, and then move on when that's over and you're ready for the next thing. So it's been a interesting journey in that sense, because in a way you measure your success not by in a narrow way of like, well, how many people became lawyers or how many people became doctors, but in a way it's like, how many different ways did people go? How many different ways did they pursue their particular path in life, and then did they do it with full vigor or not? One of the best gauges of that was a woman who was she was a high school counselor that before we had our own high school, a lot of our children would transfer to when they were 13, 14 years old. And one day she said, "Your children are different," she said. And then she thought a little bit about it and said, "They know who they are." And I thought, that's the kind of feedback I want to get, because that's who I want to have as children. What they do is really not very important at all. I had one child who, for a while at least, he became a kickboxer. And he was like, what do they call it? I forget, I don't know how you, in other countries, but it's just like unlimited fighting. You can use your feet, you can use your hands and everything like that. But he did it with passion, and he was actually pretty good at it. And then, he outgrew that and went on to other things. But of course, you have other people doing things like, a lot of people are drawn to helping other people in different ways. Some masseuses, teachers, counselors, a lot of people work with nature and things like that. So those things are common, but I really didn't care. My goal was to just simply help that child find their own road in life and then help them pursue it as far as they could.